Hello and welcome to Penny for a Tale. And tonight we have a very special message for you guys, and it is welcome to our fucking show.
Yeah, that worked really well.
Very
Yeah,
well
I-
rehearsed.
yeah.
Very well rehearsed.
We're professional podcast streaming people, each and every one of us. But yeah, welcome to Penny for a Tale, the streaming showcasing of TTRPGs around the world, new and exciting. And especially tonight, we are with some very amazing people. One of which is Craig Austin. You can give us like a little woot woot.
Good evening. Hi, it's me, Craig Austin. Red Moon Roleplaying here. Hello.
And Hjalmar Norden. Did I get that?
You got it perfectly. Hi, Mitch. Hi, Spence. Pleasure to be here.
And of course, Spence, my co-host, who is awesome as always. Always. So we got an awesome show plan as we are just going to grill these two about everything podcasting, TTRPG, streaming. We want to know where they live, what's their favorite color, everything. So this is the show where hopefully we can, for anyone who's a fanboy, fangirl, fan whatever, you can just get on this hype train and make sure to check them out at redmoonroleplaying.com, right? Yeah.
That's it.
So first question, guys. Last year, because we are now in 2020, you guys won the Emmy Award over at Origins, which was huge, awesome stuff. But what was that kind of that journey that has gotten you to that point in time, and how was kind of like your reaction when you were like, "Holy shit, we won"?
Well, where do you want us to start the journey? Like personal life.
So a little bit after birth, but probably like before maybe October.
So when did you get the announcement that that your show had been nominated?
When was that? Was it like a start of the last year or something? Or
Yes. So we got the. So we were in the nominations, and that was the period we did a lot of like, wow, we're in the nominations, like, and I remember being like, great, that would be it. And
Yeah.
I was very happy to even to be nominated. I was like, but winning, come on, winning, or even getting top 2, no.
Now, so how is that process? Because I'm familiar with the Parsec Awards, where once the show is nominated, you have to make a small demo reel of your show that's like 5 minutes long and send it to the committee. Did you have to do something similar?
Yes, we did. Matthias did have to send that may have even been to be nominated, actually. I can't remember if it was to be nominated. We had to send a little segment of our work to them, and then I think that's how we got the nomination. And then it was the voting process after that, like vote for your favorite ones.
Right.
They were the winners, and then we weren't able to go and attend the award, unfortunately, because we had a prior commitments. But
well, we thought that was what our bragging rights were going to be. It's basically an Emmy nominated podcast. So we didn't see much further than that. We were like, this is good. We're gonna write this on everything now. This is what we are now.
It should be on the t-shirts.
Yes, exactly. Representing today, by the way.
Yeah.
Amazing art by George Cotronis, is his name, I think. Fantastic.
Ooh, is it did he do anything with the work on Cult? Because it feels very very kind of similar in that way. It
is in the similar style, but he has not done art on the actual rule book or the official stuff. But Matthias found it and was like, "Oh, we want to use this. How much do we need to pay?" And we paid, and now it's like this is us.
Well, yes, that's our first proper image of Black Madonna season 1, and our website. That was the first image we had. So.
Yeah, I remember seeing that image, and at first I thought it was just like something from the book, and I kept trying to find it in the Cult book, and I'm like, oh god, it's so beautiful and so just I don't know. It always makes me think of like the creepiness of Cult.
It's a great piece, and I think they've done some other stuff. So please do go check them out, listeners. They definitely are a cool artist. Please check out their work.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're choosing campaigns and adventures to go on, is there a theme that you're going for that you all feel comfortable playing in, or what is that like? Like you finish Curse of Strahd.
Yeah.
How do you decide what's next?
We feel like we always kind of have almost a waiting list of things we want to play because there's just so much out there like that would fall within the horror genre. I think we wanted to do a D&D game because it's such a huge platform and so many people have played it. And there was a challenge there, okay, so what module could fit well to our style? Because we didn't want to delve too much into the system, so to speak, but something that just could be messed up enough and not go into sort of the realm of fairies, I suppose.
Yeah.
We wanted something dark and gritty, and Ravenloft was just so good. And I feel like we kind of got on late on the Strahd train, but we were very happy with how it turned out in the end. And people are still tuning in for that one.
And I think, as Hjalmar said, we try at least to have the theme of dark worlds and dark storytelling, less in the nasty and horrible, more in the characters reacting to it in a dramatic manner rather than a comical manner. I mean, that was the whole initial concept we had, was we love horror games, most of them online, not all, there are some great shows out there, but most of them, I was listening, especially in D&D, it's like zombies and skeletons, and you go, look at a divine smite,
Yeah, it's like a Scooby-Doo episode, and it's just like comically running around.
Exactly. And our goal was like, wait, what would happen if are people actually hearing you see a ghost? Oh gosh, that's horrifying. A ghost. What do I don't know how to deal with a ghost. This is scary. Oh, it's my wife.
There are so many ways, where that comes in, even if you're playing sort of seriously and in character, and then suddenly you're about to die and you're really like you're really stressed out, and okay, so how do I roll, and I roll really badly, and you get that sort of I'm dead, I'm gonna die.
Yeah.
And it's still like, that's still not what a character would do. If you were there and like you missed and you were about, okay, in that moment, you wouldn't even, unless you were sort of a nervous laughter character, that could work. But okay, I feel like we're super digressing. What you actually asked was, how do we choose a new module after doing something like Curse of Strahd? And
obviously you have a wish list.
Yes. And we were thinking like, okay, so what other platforms would we like to sort of cover? What is big, what has an audience that we could attract, and what fits with our theme? And I think it was at that point that we were sort of turning ourselves towards World of Darkness. And we're thinking like, what can we do there? What is big? What people work there that we could come into contact with? Perhaps from the awesome people that we worked with at Helmgast, for example, because at that point, we hadn't made enough of a name for ourselves that we were sort of in official contact with, like with the Wizards of the Coast that we are now. But we're like, okay, so what could we get through this? And through our people at the people at Helmgast, I think it was kind of that way that we went to the sort of Swedish scene and got into contact with White Wolf and Martin Eriksson that was working there at that point. And like, what can we do together? And
then after that, Onyx Path followed, and also a lot of Free League.
Yeah, Free League. Oh,
Free League, they're great.
But I guess Onyx Path was that what we did immediately after Strahd? Was that when we got into Scotland? And
yes, it was. Yes.
That's right. And they came from beneath the sea.
Yes, they came from beneath the
which
sea.
Are like super small, new role-playing games.
Yeah, that's actually that was the first game we ran over here at Penny for a Tale.
Really?
They came from beneath the sea, really?
Yeah, it was the Kickstarter, Quick Start, and everything like that.
Oh, what did you think?
Oh, I loved it to death, and all my players are like, "Is it out yet?" And I'm like, "No, not yet. just hold on. It's close. It's so close."
I want more of that, to be honest. I really do.
I think also one. In conclusion on that as well is another goal we did have. Maybe we've digressed a little for a bit just to be more open, but we also originally wanted to try and have not only systems, but published adventures. The
Yeah.
idea being, you know what? Sometimes people aren't fans of those. They're not going to play them. But they've always been like, oh, but I'm interested in hearing it. You know, like, I'd be interested in hearing how that adventure was, because I'll have my lovely homebrew game, but how was it as a story?
Yeah.
And that was one of our things. So like, oh, can you make those published modules sound interesting and narrative so you can have a listen to them? And now maybe you can choose, oh, maybe you want to run it, or maybe, you know, you're fine just listening to it. That was sort of like a secondary goal as well.
Yeah, I mean, when I first listened to you guys on Black Madonna, like that was what drew me to the campaign, because usually kind of horror campaigns, I'm a little like off put by it, just because it's a very hard genre and it's really kind of an improv sort of thing in my mind. But you guys work with the Black Madonna, I was like, yes, that is a wonderful campaign that I would also like to do and share with players. So definitely there's an audience for that.
So
How do you... Yeah, sorry.
Oh, sorry. We do have a question from the chat on this vein. What are some of the games that you're considering running next? Are there any new or interesting systems that you're considering trying?
Ooh, now that's a question of what can we say? That's a good question.
We asked the question you are not required to answer.
Actually,
You can say it backwards if you want.
I think this is fine because we have announced it, right? We can talk about the next thing we're doing.
Yeah.
We're doing Call of Cthulhu.
Oh, fantastic.
Everyone's wanted us to do it. We wanted to do it. And the only delay on it was Matthias, especially. He wanted something that was a bit new because he felt a lot of really good shows have already done some of the big modules, like Masks of Narlatet, for example.
Yeah.
Great module. It's been done really well by plenty of people. So, you know, listen to their shows. We wanted something where we maybe have something that then will be a little different. And yeah, Call of Cthulhu, there we go. And I like, obviously.
Oh, yeah. It's one of those original amazing baseline like horror games.
Yeah,
especially the new, especially, you know, not say, you know, I don't like the classics, but, you know, I feel the setting in general has, you know, had some good improvements as it's opened in the last couple of years, you know.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. That Call of Cthulhu, I mean, Delta Green has been amazing reading through, and I know they have a campaign coming out, hopefully later this year.
Yeah, Delta Green's really cool. I personally haven't played much Call of Cthulhu. I think we had sort of a mini run, Craig, with our group here in London at some point. But I mostly just read a bit of Lovecraft. And it's like a game that I've been tiptoeing around for a long time, just like the podcast has. And it's like, I want to do this. When can we do it? How? And now it's finally time to get the crew together.
Indeed. And you know what? Yeah. This hasn't been announced at all. And this isn't a plan. This isn't a plan. This is just... Personally, I'd really like to give a Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, the new version, a go.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have that somewhere over here, but yeah, it definitely looked very interesting.
Well, again, it's because I feel that old school Warhammer stuff, or even the new school stuff, has that, yes, it's gritty and horrible and people exploding and wizards.
Just darn wizards all the time.
Darn wizards. So that's the one for me. So
yeah, I mean, it sounds like there's a lot of big things coming on the horizon, and definitely Call of Cthulhu stands as kind of like the tip, because I think if someone asked me if you guys had played Call of Cthulhu, I would just automatically have said, yeah, they've done that.
They should have, right?
Of course they have.
Yeah, it's a horror, gritty horror podcast. I'm sure they did it. So.
Exactly.
But it's just that thing that Craig said. It's like everyone has done all this stuff terrifically already. So what can we do? And so like this was what we were waiting for.
Yeah.
It's not like a new system or anything. I don't know if that was your question, but for us it's new, of course, because we haven't done it in the cast. And then we've been playing around with the thought of actually playing the follow-up of The Came from Beneath the Sea, if you've heard about that one.
So who's going to be the game master?
Call of Cthulhu.
For Call of Cthulhu.
Well, that would be Matthias.
Now, have you all taken turns being the game master, or not yet? Not
me.
Not y'all.
I'm always the player. When I got into Redmond Roleplaying, I had never been the game master, and so it was just natural for Matthias or Craig to start. Well, Matthias sort of took the initiative for the whole thing, so it's like, okay, he'll start the whole, the first Black Madonna and everything, and then Craig will take over. And he kind of became unwillingly, I shouldn't say unwillingly, but he just became the D&D guy, and that's what you've been doing. And you're like,
Yes.
I want to do some of this as well. This is really fun, but something else too. Whereas I have just been doing it sort of privately and be getting into it, especially now with our Patreon one-on-one sessions, which is one of our higher tiers on our Patreon, where I started playing with some of our patrons, and that is just so much fun to set that loose finally. Well, I'll see when we bring it to the podcast. We've been talking about it a lot. Like there was a while, like I want to do space horror because that's a personal sort of,
Yes.
for me. I would love to do like 40k or something. Yeah.
Have you checked out the new Alien RPG
Oh, yeah.
from Free League?
Yes. We have already sort of been talking to people that we would want to play that with, and we kind of want to see how the hype goes as well. Sounds like a diva, but we kind of need to really need to sort of choose wisely how we spend our time, because last year we ended up releasing like over 200 hours, like more than half an hour of material per day of material. And it was just so immense, and our workload just tripled because we got so enthusiastic. We wanted to do everything, and it was like, this is fun, but it's not sustainable. It's not gonna, if I get into rehearsal period for a play or something and have to do this at the same time, and there were times I was just like, really falling under.
Well, we had a thing originally where it was like, wonderful, so one person will be doing the editing and then someone else can do it, and we'll just do a swap so that one of us is editing and the others have a bit of a break. And then peak time last year, all three of us at the same time.
Oh geez.
So that's a great subject to talk on, because people like us who all do regularly release podcasts, how do you all fight burnout?
Yeah, it is a
burnout from
question.
GMing, from podcasting,
good question.
Whatever.
And I feel like you become really aware and you're about your free time, and it becomes very precious to you, and just getting sleep. And it has been challenging, some of these periods that we've been in, and you notice you can't sleep when you're actually supposed to sleep, because you got all these things buzzing in your head. You hadn't had time to properly cool off, from everything. And what we've been talking about all the time is about finding that place where we have a buffer. That is a sort of word on the horizon somewhere, that buffer, at the end of the rainbow. But it has taken this whole year for us to, okay, now it's gonna calm down. Once I wrapped editing, what's it called? The Sacrifice for Chicago by Night. I have a little bit more time before moving to Japan, and once I'm there, it's gonna be someone else sort of doing the main campaign for a bit. Matthias currently doing the family. And then Craig, are you still editing, right, for Avernus?
Yep, we have finished recording Descent to Avernus, but continuing the episodes. Still got at least probably 7, 8, 9, 10, something around there remaining.
Yeah, so I think on the theme of burnout, it's like it's been a lot of sort of talk about when we actually know that we're gonna have an easier time, and it's like for a while it just felt like, okay, that's not gonna happen, because awesome things keep happening that we want to do, but when we finally sort of set it into stone, like this is going to be our release schedule for 2020, not more, unless of course we get some cool commissioned paid games, so we can take something away from other work and do that. that's just what we're going to stick with. And knowing that that was on the horizon just felt like a big sort of, release. I feel like, okay, so it's going to be okay. What do you think, Craig?
Well, I think the support from our Patreons is for me the fact that not only are people enjoying the work, they are willing to support us. I think we've said, like, if it wasn't for that, this wouldn't have been happening. Like, we maybe, we wouldn't have like called everything off, but I think we would have just been, I don't have time. Like in my case as well, I would have to use that time for paid work.
Yeah.
Right.
Like I have a flexible job, which allows me to, it's very good for the podcast at the moment, but part of the flexibility has been, okay, I'm actually getting a bit of money this month from the show. I can have that day off. I can work on that day. If I hadn't been getting it, I'd have had to be, nope, I have to be working all the time in my boring job. And yeah, so that has helped. It's helped make it feel on a professional level where you guys, I'm not just like doing this for funsies.
Yeah.
I am actually, people are expecting something. Work, boy. You work in your head. Work you. It still is hard. And like we said, I think that's what we have come to the realization this year. We need to dial it back just a little. Just a little. Because as you said, because I think for me, the burnout came from, if savvy listeners will notice that I think I've been in almost everything we've done, except maybe one thing. So both Hjalmar and Matthias were having a little bit of we can't do those shows. And I think I was doing it once, like for 2-3 weeks, 4 recordings, 5 recordings a week of 3 games, 4 games.
Oh, man.
You've had definitely the heaviest workload for during that period. You were, many games a week, plus you had to release weekly for Avernus as well.
And for me, the burnout came from suddenly my characters being a bit, who am I again this week? Yeah. Oh no, does this actually sound good? Oh no, am I being like, I actually can't remember the plot. Yeah.
What about you guys? Do you have any thoughts? Like, what have you done? That?
So for me with my podcasting experience, we set a season goal, and then we take like 6 months off to reset, to reach out to other people, to reach out to other game companies and things. And so we spend a good amount of time doing the planning, and then I make sure that I have at least 10 episodes in the can before we start releasing. Just because that way, since the other 2 people involved with Game School are very involved in actually designing games. I'm the one who's editing and doing all the follow-up. So I try to take on as much as I can to give them room to do, other paying gigs.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. That's nice. But yeah, doesn't that overwhelm you at times then, or?
At times, and I'm working on finding a better balance. But I also work from midnight to 4 a.m, so I don't know what sleep is.
I should also add, it helps knowing that all of us now have had a hand in editing. So we all 3 of us know when one of us says that's a bit late, or I'm sorry, I need to re-record something. We just know. And can support each other and have a vent, which I think we've spoken to a few other people and they've gone, wow, that's awesome, because my show, I edit, and the others are like, you'll be fine, right? And they're like, and you're like, no, editing is actually sometimes very time consuming.
See, I think people don't. So full disclosure, my day job is I am a audiobook editor and QCer. So any audiobook, any hour of audio that you listen to, up to 10 hours of work has gone into it. So that's for the audience. So yeah, I totally get where you're coming from, but I am a total control freak when it comes to audio. I'm like, no, my baby.
No, I agree in terms of there are certain things all 3 of us do. If you listen, we have our own. For example, those 2 are happy when I go every now and again. They don't mind. I hate it, and I always get rid of it. I'm like, no, I've gone, no, stop it.
I'm right there with you. I know exactly what you mean. The vocal tics there, but it's also really fun when you get to go in there and take them out, and nobody knows that it was there to begin with except you.
Exactly.
And that has been so difficult for me, because there has been times when I'm just like, okay, I can't edit this in such detail. I have to let things slip, the uhs and the I go right. These things where I was like, I can cut this. I can take the I go and take the next right and put them together, and you like mix it perfectly, and you're like, oh, this is great. Oh, this with I need this sound effects here and this music there, and then you put it together, and you're like, oh, this is fantastic. And then you spent like an hour on 5 seconds or something, and it sounds amazing those 5 seconds, but you can't.
Yes, especially we've learned with some of our guests who, they're busy people. You can't get them to do a re-recording, so you have to do what you've got.
Yeah. And
so finding that balance of
Yes.
what can I allow to go through versus what is going to drive me crazy if I don't get rid of it.
Yeah. And it's like if you yourself listening to it a couple of times, like the same sentence, even just twice, then you will find things. But if you just listen to it once, then you might even not even notice it. And that's what the listener hears, because they're not going to take it over and over again listening for these sort of faults. So you have to sort of let go of the perfectionism for a bit just to get a product out and get some downtime.
Mm-hmm.
And that's been a real struggle of mine, because what I started editing for Redmond Roleplaying, I edited the bi-weekly release of Coriolis.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, nice.
A lot of fun. The Last Flight of the Ghazali and the Emissary Lost. And I started adding sort of sound effects and doing everything. Just I felt like this is so much fun. It was incredibly rewarding and great. And then when you suddenly have to step up to more than like release every week, obviously you can't have the same sort of sense of detail. And in one way, it got it less satisfying. And me, because I need to be engaged sort of with everything I do. Otherwise, I just start wondering, and suddenly this thing has been playing that I was supposed to listen and edit has been going on for a while, and I'm like, oh no, I have to go back and restart it. Whereas if I'm detail editing, I'm like super attentive. I'm like, oh, there's something, I'll fix that. So that's really difficult too, because if I'm not supposed to be a perfectionist, how do I still, keep being engaged?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You can relate?
Yes, very much so. And I get into that when I'm doing bigger projects, like you're saying. So, I feel like doing different passes. So you do a pass for timing out all the vocals, and then you do a pass for all the envimentals and the sound effects. And then one last pass to make sure everything sounds nice.
And now all I can do when I was editing The Sacrifice was like, okay, I have a vague idea of how this scene is. Just take a music, immediately put it there, and from the start cutting it with the music in the background. And if the music suddenly goes completely, this doesn't fit at all, then I'll have to change it. And if the music just runs out, try looping it. And
I fully confess to being an amateur editor myself. So for me, when it comes to music, I've always just okay. In Curse of Strahd, I really did put some effort into at least finding what I thought was a really good set of tunes. For some of the others I've had to do quickly, I've just asked Matthias, can you just send me something? Just send me some stuff you think works, and then I'll just put it on and I'll listen to each one and kind of get them by mood. That's a good tip, by the way.
Yeah.
Do you use Incompetech?
No, what's that?
Oh, Incompetech.com is all royalty-free music by Kevin MacLeod.
Oh, I see. Oh no, awesome. I see that because we have Pyama, you use the sound effect one. What's that called? SoundCloud.com?
Yeah, Sirenscape. I do. I use Sirenscape, but I also use freesound.org. But when it comes to music, we have a little deal with Cryo Chamber.
Oh, that's nice.
Nice.
Yes,
they do great stuff.
They do excellent. No, they have we've so far not needed anything else because Cryo Chambers labels, they have loads, and we pay them a monthly fee.
So cool.
We get to use their full catalog.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean like any monetization on YouTube, it goes to them, not to us. And it's perfectly fine because it's just, they deserve it. All of those artists deserve it. It's so good.
Yeah, it's definitely my favorite like YouTube music thing. It's every time I'll just listen to it for hours.
Yeah.
It's great for how we do things. Although actually there was one difference, and that was we did get Beam Dog's permission to use the old D&D soundtracks for our current D&D campaign.
It's
Oh,
like
that was
everything,
really
like
Nice.
cool.
Winter Nights, Baldur's Gate, but also was it what's the other one, Craig? The not the non-BioWare stuff.
Non-BioWare stuff.
Yes.
Elder Scrolls.
Is it a
this-
video
yeah.
game, or are you talking about the?
Yes, it's a similar. You have your party, and it's the AD&D game that we played as well. The same setting. Planescape Tournament.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh,
Oh,
there
yes,
we
sorry,
go.
Planescape Tournament. There we go. Yes, we got that one as well. Although the only issue with those soundtracks is that most of the tracks are only 2 minutes or 1 minute long.
Yeah.
So what
And
I've done is I've looped them
for
once or
vampires.
twice, and I've gone,
Yeah.
you can't keep looping it. You can't keep looping it. I have to move on to something else. Yeah.
But in No Man is an Island, we have tons of looping because that was also sort of video game music.
Well, you can loop 5-minute tracks or even 10 minutes, but a 1 minute track, you need to change it.
Unless it's like kind of a white noise music or just
Yeah.
then it goes.
But yeah, Hammer's the one who, you listeners, does the proper sound effects and music. I just put some music on and I just do the detail edit and get it out as quick as possible.
Yeah,
Avoid
and
going
some-
mad. Yeah.
Now, if you were to change to a live stream where you didn't have the ability to be very detailed in all that editing,
Yeah.
how? So, like we do with Penny for a Tale, this is all live. All of our mistakes and everything just go
Just
out there
in front.
as is.
Yeah.
Oh,
that-
no.
Would that
This is
be
a release,
tenable
you know?
though?
Just isn't that nice? Sort of.
It is.
Okay.
It
Yeah.
really is. So like where I do both, I want to hear like what your thoughts are since you don't do a live show. How that makes you feel. Let's sit on my couch and I'll take some therapist notes. How does that
Well,
make you feel?
I feel play would be absolutely fine. I think for me DMing a nightmare. I if you listen to our raws, I often repeat things. I often say, actually, wait, no, this is better, and I'll say it in a better way. And then in the editing, I'm like, brilliant, we'll cut that rubbish way. That was rubbish. Perfect way of saying it.
Yeah, I think it'd be liberating in one way to just just let it go, unless you were often saying things that were very politically incorrect or something that could genuinely upset people because
Yeah.
your brain doesn't
Mhm.
for some reason just keeps throwing things out. That would be scary.
Yeah.
But since we just play our games and it usually goes fine.
That's true. Yeah, no, I was saying earlier, listeners, yeah, for me, it's the, I don't swear at all, really. And then sometimes in character, I'd be like, this guy's an awful person. He's like, hey, and I'm like, oh, and then I think that's what I actually immediately cut. I was like, no, wait, no, that's an awful thing for that person to say. Sorry. And then everyone laughed, but I was like, oh, no, I said something like, you effing moron. And I'm like, oh, sorry.
Yeah. I remember the first time I ran Black Madonna, I had just come from another Powered by the Apocalypse game. And so I told everyone, yeah, you roll 2d6. And so like they failed everything.
Why is everyone failing? So,
Yeah. And I was like, yeah, it's just it's a tough system, it's a tough world, deal with it.
It's really
deal with it, never being able to roll more than a partial
It's
success.
like, yeah, you have to roll 15 or more on your 2d6 to make a full success.
Yeah. And
It
I
isn't
like
easy.
I think
but,
like a fan pointed it out, like, isn't this D10s? And I'm like, oh no. I go back, I was like, oh, that's no wonder things
Well,
were not going well.
Well, for
I
D&D, I've had the thing where obviously I say the city of it's El Turel, but I call it Turiel.
Yeah.
It's
fun.
so and I was like, well, I do know that, but I'm not changing it now. I said it
I
20
think-
times.
You are kind of taking liberties with names, Craig, and I find that it's kind of liberating too, to be honest. Just he still calls me Halma. That's fine because we're so close now. Who cares? Yeah, I find like what really matters. What matters the most? Those things that you get it exact, or that you're in the moment and you're enjoying it. And that's what makes entertainment. But I want to make an admission because you mentioned cult and things that you got wrong. I did a cult video for Helmgast, and that was so much fun. Sort of explaining the system
Nice.
and how to GM and stuff. Have you seen it? No,
I think
not
so.
yet.
Yeah, I think it's definitely on my playlist.
Oh, it's great. And I think I might have the same lipstick as you have, Spence, but maybe it's dark purple. I'm not sure. You've got
This
blue,
is
right?
a dark blue. This is Lip Sense.
Oh, it's
And
blue.
I swear I can't take this off without like a super
Oh wow.
hard makeup remove. This is what I wore all weekend at PAX Unplugged.
Very nice.
And it didn't move a
Oh,
bit.
we
So
need to go to that.
yeah, no, I'll send you some. It'll be
Yeah.
great.
And oh, will you? You will send me some. Well, goodness.
We'll talk offline. I'll get you some. If you want this lip color, I'll hook you up.
Hook me up. But what I was going to say that in that video, when recording it, I made a lot of small errors as you do, and you edit it. You got time to do that, and it was really funny when I was. There was one thing that I almost didn't pick up until sort of the last minute before publishing it, and that was because in cult you've got 3 passive attributes and 7 active attributes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I was so into the moment, I was like, in Cult Divinity Lost, you have 3 passive attributes and 3 active attributes. And that was something that, I noticed it. I was like, oh, well,
It's all right.
I don't have the thing on, and I was sitting there sitting all sloppy, editing and stuff, and not being at all back in that mood. Like, am I gonna put up my green screen and rectify that? I'm like, no, and I'm like starting, it's cutscene, like, how can I do this? So you'll see me now saying, like, in Cult Divinity Lost, you have 3 passive attributes and active attributes. And
hey, there we go. We fixed it.
I think there's like an active.
Yeah, and sometimes that's just what you gotta
You do the best you can.
I feel the magic of editing for me is the ability to make a sentence that had like some uhs, and suddenly it's like,
yeah,
I walk into the room and kill the goblin. And in real life, it was like, hang on, I walk into the room. What? Oh, can I actually do that? Oh, wait, how many goblins? 2. I kill the goblin. I walk into the room and kill the goblin, and it sounds perfectly natural. You're like, yes,
so satisfying.
Yes, that is
So
the most satisfying thing in audio editing. Sorry, you hit me in my sweet spot there.
that for me, that is the magic of that sentence. And if you can't make it happen, then you cut the whole sentence. That's why I just like, I can't make it work. It's gone. It's gone.
So, do either of you have your favorite characters or NPCs that you've played or played against?
All time, sort of.
Huh?
So
of all time, yes.
PCs and NPCs.
It's a tricky one. You go first.
I really enjoyed Benny Cloud Rosberg. That was in what was that? That was They Came From Beneath the Sea. Benny Cloud Rosberg from Alabama. And then
Yes.
I love playing him, but I really like playing. Alan from the Sacrifice.
People like Alan a lot. People
like
Alan a lot.
That's a great
these and that's fun. It's like I found recently that I kind of really like characters who can handle themselves in combat. I don't know why. It's so nice to feel capable when it comes down to it, because it's going to come down to it at some point.
Yeah.
And all these systems, or some of these systems have amazing failing forward things that if you're not good in combat, you'll still get a really heavy experience for that character. And once you actually succeed, it's really amazing. So I was surprised in The Sacrifice how awesome it was to play Alan, who barely ever got into a real combat situation. Or when he does, he sort of runs in last and does something that the others have already sort of laid the path for, set the stage. Yeah, I think those two would be, spontaneously that my favorite characters, BC Rosberg and Alan from Chicago. What about you, Craig?
Ooh, oh, it's a tricky one. I mean, I suppose I have I loved her a lot, but she was very stressful to play, as some patrons noted. From our Taroticum playthrough, only on our Patreon, Jennifer Carver, who was the twin sister of Carver, James Carver. I was both of them. Because obviously, the fun thing there being that Hjalmar and Matthias were like, yeah, of course you should play your twin sister.
Yeah.
Duh.
Of course. Yeah, just go for it. It's fine.
And she was that we went into some dark places in that campaign, and she was very challenging. I really wanted to my best to portray a woman who was, had issues but was not, defined by them. It wasn't like, oh, that's it. She's, again, like the archetype broken. It's like she wasn't.
Fantastic.
She was strong.
Yeah.
She just didn't know it. And it was difficult. And as some I think we got a few comments like, "Is Craig okay?" Because he sounded really emotional, and that it sounds like he's been depressing himself quite a bit. I was like, kind of, yes.
Yeah.
A horrible life. And I wanted to be okay, but she can't. Because again, in that whole adventure, not spoiling too much, that was a character who, like Matthias was I was always trying to like give her a break, and you wouldn't accept it. I was like, I know, but I wanted her to, but she can't. It's too. She needs to have that natural healing, not sudden healing. So that was an experience. And actually, you know what? I really enjoyed playing in our little short mummy adventure, playing the mummy.
Was that the Onyx Path?
Yeah, it's a short one for the new Mummy the Curse 2nd edition, just finished its Kickstarter.
Nice.
And I was the mummy, and I'd never played Mummy before, and talking with Matthew about the concepts, and I just went with that. It's like, you can be like this proper, like, I am a mummy, boom, ha, boom, kaboom. And I was like, I just want to be like, hello, I love you all, my cultists. I don't want to hurt anyone. I am better than that. And then Nazis. So, except you lot. You I will destroy. You suck. How dare you?
You suck. That's what I'd say if I. Yeah.
Exactly. And that was the whole thing. The idea of being this gentle giant, but then it was like, but every now and again, because I think my weakness was something like you're flippant or something. So it was like, you say all this stuff about peace, and then you just rain blood on a city for 2 hours.
Yeah. Like you do. It's a Wednesday, hump day.
But it was okay because I had my cultists, my other players, and I was like, you will keep me on the straight and narrow. And then and was like, they were both like one of the characters was like a body thief, and she was like, so was saying like, how can we use this to, excellence, like my own mega cannon.
I haven't even. Oh, I'm so bad. I haven't listened because Craig, you've been doing so much. I haven't been able to listen to everything you've done yet. It feels.
That's
really
okay. No. Again, that was a nice little short one, and actually, in one shots because we did a lot of one shots.
I love one shots.
Yeah,
They're so much fun.
Yes.
I really liked a combination of. Actually, we did a game of Neotech.
Ooh, you did?
Yes, we
We
did.
did ages ago.
Oh.
That was at GothCon 2018. Yeah.
And there I played this really cool, like this really cold, unpleasant lady commander character.
Oh yeah, you were horrible.
But she had a daughter or a son who she loved. That was the reason she did everything for. And it was a great moment. Like, I was being like, so awful. And at one point, someone was like, "Wait, you have a kid?" I was like, "Yeah." What? Like, so? Like, you're horrible. Okay. Touch my kid, I will kill you.
Yeah.
Gosh, you were horrible. You were so. And that was, speaking of names, that was a really funny one where Craig's character couldn't get my character's name right, and I decided that my character was going to be super touchy about them not getting the name right. I think it was my personal revenge at that time, for Craig not getting names
nice
correct. So I was like super touchy, but then again, she was the commander of the group, and I was like, I'm not going to do this if you're not going to call my right name. And I'm like, and he gives me like 5 different names, which are still all wrong. I'm going to, and then she adds, I'm going to shoot you in the kneecaps if you don't go and do your fucking job. I'm like,
yes, I was awful. I was like, yeah, all right, Rodriguez, Rodrigo boy, whatever your name is,
yeah,
do as I say.
it's horrible. I was so angry.
And as a nicer character in a one shot in a Conan game we did, we had a great duo.
Yeah.
Yama was basically Jack Sparrow. Basically.
Oh, nice.
And I was kind of like the more serious foil to it. But it was great. And again, it was a one shot where I was the ending line. I decided when he was like, you know, we finished the adventure and you're in a tavern. And I say, like, you're ridiculous, but you're not bad. That's... You've earned my respect. So there you go. There's a few.
Neotech, I look forward to one day when it's in English.
Oh, and Wendy from Isle of the Dead, if you listen to that one.
Oh, man, Isle of the Dead. It's amazing. I really want to run that game sometime. So good.
Listeners, if you're wondering, Wendy's awful. She's awful. No sympathy, please. I think one character's like, oh, I love that you made that. No, please have no sympathy. She's awful.
Horrible person.
Which means that I'm probably going to have sympathy for them because I love all the evil characters.
Yeah, I mean, they were great and really interesting and fun, but their core thing, their secret, or just call it, but was something I found like, this is awful. This is a horrible person. But I'm going to play it, and apparently everyone loved it.
At the same time, you took care of my sort of teenage girl character that I was playing, who was really sort of looking for support.
I was a mother.
Yeah. Not my mother. A mother. What are you saying? You're not saying that you actually was.
No. I had 2 daughters who.
Yeah, that's true. And you sort of supported me in some situations, even though I don't know if there was a sort of knife hidden behind my back at that point.
I thought you were a good girl. My own children were bad, but you were a good girl.
I imagine that character just patting her
the
head
little...
just like this.
Yeah, that was how it was.
I don't always play mean characters, listeners.
I don't know. It sounds like mean mothers is what I'm hearing.
Hey, Mitch, do you have a favorite character you've ever played on the stream?
Oh, so I really liked Oakwood Heights. The the guy who was in handcuffs. I'm escaping my brain right now.
Something Mitchell Wallace, the guy who is the core.
Yeah, the person who you bring along to everything.
The actual convict?
Yeah, the convict.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's interesting. He's a very
and I remember getting my handcuffs because I have them for reasons. And putting them on and everything, and then realizing halfway through that I couldn't touch the things I needed to on my computer, and so I was like, oh no. And so I was trying to like pause the stream as like I'm like handcuffed together.
Ooh,
because method acting.
Exactly. Not
and
because,
my greatest fear was just like
to wear handcuffs.
Yeah, I know, right? My greatest fear was losing the key, like just dropping it and being like, okay, I guess we're streaming for the rest of this day.
And what about yourself, Spencer?
Oh, well, we played a game on here called Punk Apocalyptic a while back, and I played a prophet who praised Barney, and my character's name was Giblet. And basically I went through this whole thing going praise Barney to everybody, and ended up becoming a god at some point. It was great.
That sounds good, actually.
I love when you have a really weird character and it just pulls through. That you think from the start it's going to be a silly character, and then it just goes and does something like that.
Oh yeah, no, I jumped in some radioactive sludge. I drank it, started glowing, but survived my rolls, and so I got this huge biker gang who wanted to kill us to join my cult, and started drinking the water. Half of them died, half of them didn't, and it was great.
Yeah, that was also the game I used a Hitachi as a kind of like a flail.
Yeah, I forgot about
that. I was like, turn that sucker on vibrate, and I'm like...
I remember you had like little buns. You'd put your hair in the
buns.
I
did.
You were
I
playing
had
a kid,
the buns.
And you had Band-Aids on your face. Yeah. That was a great
Nice.
one.
Yeah,
That was a
the
great
things
one.
I do that I know I will never be hired because it's now just on the internet and just no way I can take it down.
There, of course there is, but you don't want to because it was freaking awesome.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Someone's gonna save it somewhere, you know.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be someone.
Yeah.
Download it. Making
Uh,
an archive.
We missed something, but apparently Folklore Podcast wanted to say hello to you all.
Hello, Folklore Podcast.
So,
Hello.
A little smiley
yeah.
face too. Yeah, definitely.
That's awesome.
Oh,
No
nice.
additional
that's-
questions, but if there are any questions, go ahead and put them in the chat for us.
Yeah, feel free. And so my question for you guys, and I guess is really for Craig since he DM'd a little bit more, but y'all feel for Yalmar because I know you're doing the private GM stuff. But how do you approach GMing? And I guess not streaming, but podcasting compared to how you would approach it, just like at home with your friends or just for a live group.
So I've said on our show a few times that there are things I will do for the podcast I will not do in a normal game because that's not what you're there for. Things like, being a bit like, oh, let's all, be in character and keep the asides. Like, I don't do that in my home game. You're there to have fun and have a drink, or, and do whatever you want to have fun with your friends. So, I don't do that at all. I'm more forgiving of, side tangents and rule discussion and everything because it's fine. I do find it hard for me. I do sometimes be a little bit directorial, and it's not a good thing. It's fine for the podcast, but not a normal game. Don't do it. I'm learning. Just let it go because all it ends up doing is you end up feeling stressed.
Like what?
As the DM, like being like, guys, please listen to my story and don't all go and look at the horse for an hour. Which my good friendship group I do have, the focus is all over the place. And what else?
I guess one thing that I know you mentioned is that when you're doing for a podcast and it's going to be episode based and it's a full adventure, you've told me how you work through a lot of what things you can cut and edits in the original adventure, like whatever is there, that what shortcuts you can take, not like steering and railroading too hard, but rooms and such that you could just decide not to have in a house, for example, just because you're telling a story and you need to move the story along, or have a nice character, leave it open for character moments instead, right?
Exactly. Also, you're more focusing on the podcast. Again, our goal being that we want it to be interesting to listen to.
Yeah.
Versus the more like, more relaxed, like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna look at my spells and talk about
or the
them,
horse,
look at my item. Which again, in your home game, totally absolutely fine. They're fun. That's the point, having fun. So but for the podcast, it is a bit more like, oh, I'm trying to. This is exciting stuff, and it must sound exciting and also distinct.
Yeah, and get more of a feeling of progress in some form, whether it is character development or in the actual plot. You kind of have to push it a little bit more. But I think all our players are more or less aware of that and are trying to make that happen as well.
Yes, we've been quite lucky in that regard. Every guest we've had, every player, we've all managed to gel quite quickly. It's quite surprising, actually. It makes me feel quite happy. We've always managed to find some, that's how you work, and that's what you want as a player. Awesome, we'll do that. Because also we're very, with our guests, very like, we want you to have fun. We're not going to be like, hello, welcome to the show, do it this way. It's like, no, you do what you want to do, and we are going to accommodate you.
Well,
we like guests and working with people and having fun.
On that note, there has been, I think, at least 3 one-shots that turned into at least 3 sessions of playing, like the summits with Matthew Dawkins. That was
nice,
like, we just went on and had too much fun either interacting with the characters or the environment. And for that kind of situation, it was fine, but we also suffered a bit because we knew we could plan in 1 extra session to get this done. But then we had a long time of being super busy. So we ended up postponing the final session of the summit, which didn't end up being like the full length, I think, anyways, or more or less. But that's when that was difficult. When we were so busy anyway, it was like, we need to get this
And there's
done.
another realization is that in real life, it's totally fine if you never finish these things.
Yes.
Totally fine.
Yeah, yeah.
Podcast, well, no, the listeners want to hear the end. They don't want you to suddenly just stop.
Yeah.
You're like,
Yeah,
what's
so-
going on here?
Exactly. So I suppose those are some things, and it's a learning process. Definitely a learning process. I still make mistakes. There's always more to learn. I definitely, for example, in Avernus, learned a bit more about assuming. I assume whenever I'm doing weird cryptic clues that it's really obvious and all my players are geniuses and will outwit me every second.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's the opposite. Sometimes they're like, actually, like, wait, no, we have no idea what's going on. Why are you? And it's like, oh, I should have been doing.
Why are you winking at me?
It's like, you guys totally get that he's the murderer, right? What? Why? Because you were looking, and I did the whole. I didn't kill anyone. So I've realized sometimes it's okay to be a bit more. Okay, I'm a big believer that if players don't know something, do the characters know it?
Mhm.
Let them know. If you
Yeah.
are a super cool detective, give the super cool detective
you
some
should know.
tips. Exactly.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
You see the cool clue, because then they feel. I personally, when I'm doing it, I feel happy. I go, oh yeah, I am a cool detective. Yeah, I did figure that out.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We do have a question from the chat from Zeal Zaddy. They ask, do you prefer the dynamics of small parties or larger ones? Or are they smaller just because of technical / scheduling issues?
For me, I do prefer the dynamics of smaller parties. I feel for this sort of podcast, it just makes it easier.
Mhm.
Because 2 or 3 players, maybe 4 max, everyone can have their moment. I feel I have fun in groups of 5, 6. My main group has like sometimes 7, but I do feel it's more a if one person will say something, a second person will say something, they have an argument. Maybe you get to have a word in, the DM then wants to move along the story. 7 or
Yeah.
8 people for me is hard to do, but I totally appreciate people who do it because I think it can be done really well, but it's
Yeah.
hard for me. But what about you, Hjalmar?
Thanks, Zeal Zaddy, for the
Hmm.
question. I personally suffer a little bit with confidence issues in really big groups if I don't feel that when I speak, I get heard or listened to.
Yeah.
And it's very easy when you're doing role-playing games, even if you're intending it or not, that you really want to do stuff, and like you immediately get a feeling for how your character reacts to what the dungeon master is presenting. And so when you're in a bigger group, I get sometimes nervous, which is not just for role-playing. It could be any sort of social meeting, a bit of social anxiety. And
Mhm.
people usually get a bit surprised if I mention this, that I can get really exhausted from social situations. And that stems mostly for when I am not sure if I'm going to be heard, in this group, in this new group that I'm going to be in, or with so many people around, because I don't want to say that I am an amazing listener necessarily, but I do want to try and make a point of hearing everyone, and I think most people do. They want to hear everyone, but for me, when you're in a small group, and particularly if it's a dungeon master or a game master that you really trust, that even if some people are going to talk a lot, they're going to turn to you and like, what do you want to do? And I suppose if you do have that game master is this sort of amazing moderator who will always sort of notice if someone
Yeah.
is getting not heard, then you could max it out. You could have a much bigger group, but then you really need that, and that's not easy for a game master. So I'm super comfortable when we are in a group with like 3 players. Then you get time for dynamics and character stuff with the game master as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For me, I always imagine like some of my favorite scenes on like TV shows or movies, and these very dynamic and emotional scenes, and they usually encompass like a small amount of people. And so, in the same thing as you guys are talking about, it's hard to kind of have these very profound moments in a larger group, because either you're like the rest of the people are just like, when is this over? I want to play, or it just kind of flops about. So that's why I agree. I definitely love like the 3-4 person group, because 3 or 4 people can definitely have that profound moment and hop in to most things.
Funny, because one of the only negative comments I remember about our whole show. Remember that one was one guy was like, "Well, they don't seem to know the rules of the game they're playing," and we were like, "We don't know what you're talking about. Which game?" And then it's like, "Oh, so only 2 players? No, you must have 4 or 5. That is how you do it. That is how." And so I have spoken. And I was like, "Oh, okay, so sorry."
Okay, Pharaoh.
Yeah, no, right.
Exactly.
So it is written, so it shall be done.
Exactly. What do you think, Spence? Oh, Spence is someone who's probably the cat.
The cat's like, hey, what's up?
No, actually, that was my roommates coming home, and
Oh.
yeah,
Okay.
Guys, I'm recording. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, I get that. For me, the solution is simple. I'm the GM, and then I can direct things as necessary, because I like moderating. I like getting people to give the different solutions, and I like giving the quiet people a chance to do something really cool, especially because their characters are either really zany and going to do something bizarre and everybody's going to be very entertained by it, or they're going to be very profound and everybody's going to just sit back in their chair going, huh. So I love those kinds of things, but I don't have a lot of confidence as a GM right now. But I can totally be the team player that actually pulls in the quiet person and like befriends the quiet person and be like, so what do you think? And
yeah,
go like that.
that's definitely something I do all the time. I love it. I'll always be, even my mean, if anything, I'm only mean characters on the show because I know there's only 2 of us, but in my general play, I often actually go for the characters like, I want to just get along with everyone, and like, what does your character think? Or, oh, you can do something here, can't you?
Yeah.
What do you think, Spence? Like, what do you prefer in terms of like group sizes? Does not really matter then?
It doesn't matter to me. I've had a group of 7 people for a game. I've done as few people as 2. So it's really just about telling a good story.
Yeah.
And making sure I have enough character sheets for everybody.
Yeah. It's really funny though when you get that chance to as a GM to set up meetings between, when you have a lot of characters like that, like, okay, which characters would be fun to put together in a room, and to face a dilemma together. And that's something that I've enjoyed immensely when you have a slightly bigger group. It is, don't split the party, but when you split the party, that's when these really beautiful moments can happen.
Yeah.
That's
so
fun
Zeal,
to listen to when you're not in it itself.
Zeal says,
Zeal Daddy asks, how do you handle a player that wants to be funny or goofy in a serious or scary part of the game?
Well, story.
I feel like that would happen in more like one-shot scenarios.
Well, we haven't really had it happen. Funny enough, we've had a large amount of guests, and we've not had it happen because, in a weird way, I think everyone's, because we've done, we do the session 0. And everyone just gets it. Like, we go like, here's how it is. And also a big thing is we don't, even on our main stuff, we've never been, oh, don't be funny. Like, if your character is funny, be funny, because that's the character being funny. It's more here I am, not a player. I like Coke, Cola's great. It's the game. Your character makes a joke. We laugh and it's funny. We've had a few of those where there's been actual funny. We've all laughed. We just cut our laughter and just leave in the joke, and it sounds fun.
The characters laugh, so if you're in it, then you're in it. And a lot of our convention games, because we're doing like platforms that are not necessarily made for horror, we played a few games of Western, which is really fun, just Western setting, like late 1800s in the Wild West. And at that point it's more about just keeping immersion. And we had some really silly, funny moments, but who cares if you're in character and it's just sort of comedy in itself. And I personally, I think comedy is great for horror because it really makes the horror more effective once you actually get to it. And people, you know, when you're watching a horror film yourself or something like that, you're like longing for that comic relief.
Yeah, exactly. I do agree with, because that's even in Curse of Strahd in the book is written. It says like, do be careful, because sometimes if you do just go, everything's awful, everything's awful, everything's awful, some players will start being a bit, everything's
And I think,
awful. You know, you need to.
Yeah.
Was a bit of a comic character from time to time as well. That is times.
The perfect lunch. Or as you said, it was supposed to be the perfect lunge.
Lunge.
Lunge. I heard it as I write a book about the perfect lunch.
Did you hear it like that as well?
Yes,
I thought it was just our listening.
I thought it was hilarious. I was like, he's writing about a cookbook or something.
Goshie, talking. Yeah.
It's written by someone named Julia Childs.
Yes. I'll take it.
So funnily enough, we haven't actually had that issue happen at all, really. And again, I think it's because, like I said, we've not been like, you can't be a goofy character. It's more or less like, okay, if you're goofy, just react as the goofy character would if, you know, their parents have just died. Suddenly, the goofy character might actually like, oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Try to laugh through the tears, make really, really inappropriate jokes.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
I get inspired now. I need to make a goofy character that has.
I look forward to watching that.
Yeah, your next show, everyone just make goofy characters.
Hey, in D&D that was easy for the NPCs.
So, well, you make all the goofy characters. You set them in a haunted theme park. There you go.
Begin. Especially the red caps.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with them? They're great little, just like evil little fairy creatures. They just exist to be kind of mean and evil to each other, but in a kind of humorous way.
Yeah.
They're very small.
Oh,
like,
yeah. Changeling is perfect. Changeling, I feel, encompasses like definitely this almost lighthearted humor with this dread right on the other side.
Oh yeah, because in Changeling, it's the dream aspect. It's the nightmares, but also sometimes there's great dreams, and also some of the stuff you do is just completely out there. Like, yes, I can now see into this mirror, but only if I do a dance and wear a red hat.
Yeah, exactly. Trying to fulfill those catches, you're like, I'll do anything.
Exactly.
But yeah, that's a good question, Zeal.
Yeah. Thanks.
Yes, thank you, Zeal. Thank you.
I think someone had something else before Zeal Zaddy was going to ask her question.
I think I interrupted Yalmar. Sorry.
No. I was just saying thank you as well. It's great.
Yeah. So what conventions are you guys going to for 2020? Can we see you guys here in America, or are we going to have to fly over?
It's possible. It's possible. We're not entirely sure yet.
We don't really know yet. We have possible plans. We really wanted to go to D&D live, and me and Craig were like, let's try and do this. I don't know if that's really a convention. Maybe it's not a convention. That's more of a get together thing. Yeah. But like, as for a thing as to going to the States at least. But yeah, I don't know. For me, I don't really know how my schedule is going to look. And obviously I'm going to be in Japan. I'll let people know if I go to something there, and definitely.
Maybe it definitely would be nice to try the PDX con, because everyone seems happy at that one, right?
Which one?
The PDX number. There's a number after it normally. PDX 2000? No, why am I saying that? Is that right?
Is that in Japan?
No, it's an American one.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Or Gen Con.
Gen Con. Gen Con would be awesome. That's our biggest one over here, really.
Yeah. It's just the being able to do it. I haven't really been able to afford to go abroad for quite some time.
The thing is that we've got right now, it's sort of for tax reasons, Matthias can't use his Patreon money. He can't take it out personally in Japan. So he's sort of banking that up for opportunities like that, to be able to send us out to things that we want to go to. And one thing was D&D Live, and if that's not going to happen, then I think that's essentially our support that we get from our lovely people is what's going to make it happen for us to be able to travel as well.
I mean, for the last 2 years, it's been GothCon, and that's been fully supported, paid for by our patrons almost. And
Yeah.
it's been really good going. I don't think we're going this year, but it's a really good convention.
Yeah.
Met a lot of nice people there.
We went to Dragon Meet in 2018.
Yes, Dragon
in
Meet.
London
Yeah,
as well.
I might try this year and go to that again because Dragon Meet's fun on the UK scene. A lot of people go to that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So 2020, we are kind of at Q1, and I'm sure you guys have lots of things you can't talk about, and maybe some things you can. But what are kind of like your guys' goal now that you've won in any award? You're kind of at the top right now. Got your boxing gloves on, looking swole as hell. What is 2020 gonna look like for what is your hopes and dreams?
Guns out.
I'm hoping to keep up the content. Again, as we said earlier, maybe try and have a slightly more measured pace this year. I'm pretty sure you listeners are going to be okay with that because I think even our best fans said like, "Wow, you released so much. I haven't even listened to some of it yet." So
I agree. I'm like always trying to catch up.
I just started like a week ago, and so I'm like,
what did you start on?
I started on Cult, and
Yes.
yeah, that's about where I'm at.
Well, I hope you're enjoying it.
I am. I very much am.
Nice.
Yeah, and
nice.
they actually use D10, so that's very important.
Can actually do a success.
And also, I also feel I'd really like to hit because we've done some good shows, but I kind of want to do the next big good one. That one you feel, it's even better than what we've done before. That I'd like to try this year. See if we can. Yeah. Although already the family is going down very well. I mean, probably have noticed that's cool. One of our most listened to things so far. Because Jason Carl and Matthew Dawkins and Clara Herbal and Bianca as well, great players. And
repeat.
And it's a good one, and it's called the Blood Gods. People are looking forward to that supplement.
Oh yeah, me too. Yeah, actually, I think they got 2 more days that you can kick back that on Kickstarter, and it's like,
yep, do it, folks, do it. I have. It's great.
Awesome stuff.
So that's my 2020, Yama.
Yeah, I think it's sort of mental health 2020, sustainable workload, and just want to keep sending out as much gratitude as we can to all the people who are supporting us, be it with positive feedback and comments or even on Patreon. Everything, it just matters so much, and we just want to keep having a high quality in everything we do and not end up in a situation like Craig said, like, what adventure am I playing? Where am I? Like, be fully immersed into that and just enjoy it, the feeling of being there in the moment, and not worrying so much about the next. I think that's sort of a really big thing.
Yeah, mental health 2020.
Yes, 2020, mental health and self-care.
Exactly. Take care of yourselves, folks. It's important. Even when doing
we
something
love
you
you.
Yeah, always.
We really do. So just taking care of each other, experiencing just awesome role-playing game, exploring new things, and if we somewhere along that path enters into a big campaign with some really tasty character interaction, that would be sweet. That's what
we had a comment from Insightful. How much coffee equated to self-care? I don't know. I don't drink coffee.
Caffeine is bad.
I have a cup of coffee every 2 hours.
Is that true?
Yeah, wow. Just about. I mean, between a 15.
You have a toddler.
Yeah, I have a kid. And then I try to do 2 shows a week. And then obviously like I do editing post like with YouTube Studio, which is the worst. It's bad. It's not. It's an okay editing.
That's
thing.
gonna get edited out.
Yeah.
That's
thing.
gonna get edited out.
Yeah. YouTube like smacks me down. It's an okay software. but yeah. Between all that, it's like it's coffee every 2 hours, and I try to not have coffee around 11 p.m. because I hope to get to bed around 4 a.m. And that's kind of like my hope. My little one kind of is my boss in that respect.
Insightful's like, you got my name right. I'm like, yeah. Took me 30 minutes to figure it out in my head, but I got it.
What is it?
So it's spelled Incytphul.
How do you say it?
Insightful.
Insightful. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And yeah, 2020 is looking forward to it. And also, as a side note, I'd like to again cover something cool and maybe not so popular, because I like my games that aren't the big games.
Yeah, the
personally.
indies. Gotta
So
love
I'd like
it.
to do a bit more of that, and as always, just increase our roster, if you will, of guests, and get more people involved of all sorts. Just that's always good
Yeah.
for me.
Who is like someone that you would love to have on the show? Celebrity or like just game celebrity?
Ooh. Oh, I don't know. There's some really good shows out there.
I would like to play with let's see, what's the name? Someone from just take someone from a TV show or someone, just some actor that I would like to play with.
Vin Diesel.
That'd be groovy, wouldn't it?
He does role-playing games.
Yeah.
It's so good.
It's great.
I watched him play, and I was a little bit afraid because he just has that voice that looks like if you're right next to him, like he is like a second away from biting your head off. And he looks like a great guy, awesome, sweet guy. But I'm just
wow!
like,
Is that true? Judi Dench learned how to play from Vin Diesel.
oh.
Yeah.
I've heard the rumor.
I would play with Judi Dench and Maggie Smith in a heartbeat.
That's kind of what I was thinking of, Ian McKellen for a while.
Oh, that would be awesome.
We could play The Witch is Dead.
Ooh.
I'm in.
Yep, let's do it.
Yeah.
Call him.
Something like that.
Yeah.
What would you have, Craig?
Those are good. I don't know. I mean, I'm obviously thinking of Critical Role people. Matthew Mercer. There you go.
Yeah, I mean,
Hey,
Matt
go.
Mercer is like it's like.
I'd cry a little.
Fanboy.
Yeah.
So hard.
Yeah, that couldn't be live because it'd just be like staring at him for the whole thing.
I'm trying to think of some voice actors I know that are great, but I can't think of any right now. Hang on, Jennifer Hale. It's a great voice. That's a great voice.
What about
I'm thinking of the voices. Yeah.
Tara Strong?
Danny
She
DeVito.
She's great. She's great. Hey, Danny DeVito, why not? He'd be great.
What about me? I'll go on.
Oh, definitely.
Hey, well, hey, you are both of you are more than welcome. Arrange it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The chat says Mitchell Wallace.
Of course. No, honestly, again, and because that's our thing. If people are interested, you can be, and we can make it work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Y'all need to be in the chat. This is great.
Yeah, Nolan North and Troy Baker both play IRC. And especially so, like, you see Critical Role and people are starting to dress in cosplay at them. That is a normal
amazing.
thing now, which has
amazing.
never been seen in the history of our hobby.
No, I know, right? It's
Has it
incredible.
ever happened to you guys? And do you think 2020 will be that time? And obviously, it's a little bit different because there's no like the pictures of you guys, but there's enough description for people to definitely, I feel.
We've started having some fan art for some things, and I like that. That makes me very happy. Just a little.
That's so exciting.
There was a nice one for the family, actually. So we did a really cool picture, and I was like, "That's great." It was exactly how I thought my character looked. I was like, "Yes."
I love
That's good.
that. I
Yeah.
love that so much.
I mean, if no one hasn't done it yet, I think at Origins or Gen Con, I'm just gonna pick a character indefinitely. Just maybe one of like Yalmar's characters or something like that.
Rorschach.
Yes.
Who would you take?
Oh man. I'd really have to see like what the fans have put out for pictures. I think we just need to do an all call for art for all of your plays.
Oh yeah,
Ah,
please
yeah.
do, listeners. We'd love to see some of that. That'd be great.
Yeah.
So much
I love
fun.
things like that. I love the artwork, and I love fans, and I love fans discussing things. Again,
It's a-
we just sometimes don't get much of that, but I think it's because we're available on so many things that
Mhm.
I only see like the YouTube comments, but then there's like Spotify comments and there's Twitter, and they all kind of get spread out.
Yeah.
Mm.
So how was that like that start when you first saw the comment or that interaction with someone who loved your show and wasn't like a family member or a friend? How was that?
It was crazy because we have that in GothCon both times we have had some actual fans, and I'd be like, "Oh my goodness, really? Are you sure? You are a fan? You listen to it? You actually listen to an episode? Oh, especially because when you go to the podcast things, we all know we don't have time to listen to each other's work all the time. Like you may have heard it once. So with fellow podcasters, you're a bit
Yeah.
like, yeah. So actual like, oh no, I actually have listened to every single episode.
Yeah.
Oh, hello. What do you think? What do you think of that? Oh, this is great. Honestly, I'm really happy to talk about that. Listeners, I've always be like, what did you really? Which bit did you like? Oh, you like that part? Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Great.
So
What did
fun
you
to-
like? Oh, that's cool. Oh, I'm sorry you didn't like that. Yeah, fair enough. That sucked. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'll never do it again.
Yeah, I kind of feel like I'm going into a place where I'm not sure if I'm dreaming. It's like it's kind of like you're standing. It's when we received the Phoenix Silver Award at GothCon 2018, and Björn Flintberg was handing over it to us and announcing it, and he really knew the show and had been listening to it, and I was like, it's just like, wow, is this real? Is he actually? And you kind of, it's like you almost don't get
Yeah.
what's actually happening there, and you, it's not until you see, when you see like one comment or one person has seen it, then you're like, oh, that's pretty cool, but you don't understand how many people have seen it. When you see like how many views there actually are, or when they suddenly gets one episode or something that there's just lots of comments, and you realize, wow, all these people saw this and were affected by it. To me, man, it's just unreal. I don't really understand it.
I'm especially a big fan of listening to what you think of the end of things. Please, I really, whenever you do a final episode, I'm like, well, what did you all think
How was it?
of the whole thing? Was it good? Was it awful? Did I do it wrong? Was that last battle too long? Oh, I knew it was too long.
But then as the fan goes like blank because they're in your presence, and so they also have the deer in the headlights look because they're meeting people that they've listened to for X amount of time in their life, and they've experienced that story with you. It's really cool.
I know, right? And again, you just want to talk about it, like you do in your actual games with your like people you know. You just talk about it, and
like
fans
you're an
just
NPC. Oh, you've heard of my tale? Oh, tell me what you thought.
Exactly.
Hi, James Corp.
Hey, James.
I've took up this chat now, so I can say
Yay!
Oh, sweet.
I don't know
We're
why
all
I
in
did
it now.
earlier.
All right, now you all can be as ridiculous as you want.
Yeah, just go crazy. So how did this start? What was the initial? Hey guys, in a couple years, I want to win an Inia award. How do we get there?
So basically, I was approached by Hjalmar because he knows Matthias. He can tell you they have a long history together, and I met Hjalmar in the main role-playing group I'd managed to get involved in, which for me was actually quite late. I didn't get to play any role-playing games at all until I was like 25 or 6, proper table role-play games.
Yeah.
And he was like, we chatted a few times. He was like, "Oh, you do some acting? Yeah, just try and do some acting." It's like I've been trying to do a little bit of getting the recording equipment for some YouTubing because 5-6 years ago, YouTubing.
Yeah.
playing video games, actual plays. There we go. Yeah.
Yeah, vlogging is a thing.
Oh man.
And he was like, "Oh, well, we were thinking of doing this thing, and oh, you actually have some recording equipment." And I was like, "Yes, I do." It was like, "Would you be interested in joining us?" And I spoke to Matthias on Skype, and he was like, "Yeah, we're going to do this role playing thing." And I was like, "Oh, awesome! That sounds fun." And he was like, "Yeah, we're going to try this thing where we edit it and actually make it serious. What do you think of that?" And I was like, "Oh my goodness, that actually sounds really good." Even though, I'm sure, like, we'll have like 10 or 20 listeners. 10 or 20 listeners tops, nothing more than that. And we did the first season, and then we went, "Oh, maybe we could ask for some money." And I was like, "Yeah, we'll get like a fiver. That would be awesome, fiver." And it went from there. In a way, again, this is me being the cynical British person going,
Yeah.
"No one cares about my work."
Yeah, man. That's like uh me and Matthias, we go quite, way back. We met in Sweden when we were both studying Japanese. He went to Japan to work at IKEA, whereas I was doing student theater in my spare time and noticed I wanted to get into acting. And then, like, many years later, he was like, do you role playing, Yalma? Because we just, we really connected really well, but we never really role played or anything
Yeah.
like that. Like, yeah, so not as much as I would like to, but yeah, sure, I do that. It's like, all right, I got a guy here, and I got a system called Cult. Have you played it? No, I haven't played that. Do you wanna try it out? Do you wanna see if we can make something out of this? And I don't really know. I remember how it sort of got introduced to being an actual podcast. Like, he was like, yeah, maybe we could record it and release it to people. It was more like that, like the practical thing of what it would be.
Yeah.
And he had a friend that he was playing with, or that he used to play with back, when he was sort of a kid back in North Sweden, and they played Cult, and we decided, okay, we set up a session and see what happens. And we did, and that was my first introduction to Cult. I felt lost, but super excited. It was just so cool to start exploring that aspect of the world. But then his friend was like, well, he wasn't super comfortable with doing it all in English, and most of all, not releasing it to the public, because
Yeah.
you are in a very exposed space. And who can be blamed for something like that? Because the internet these days,
It could be harsh.
it could be. And so Matthias just asked me, like, so do you know anyone we could bring on? And then there goes Craig's story.
Well, that sounds awesome. And especially, what do you think kind of led to your success? I know this is kind of a difficult thing to answer from your perspective, but there is huge amount of podcasts, streamers out, especially with like Critical Role coming out, and just like everyone's getting into it. But you guys have set yourself apart. What do you think you guys are doing super right?
Well, I can't speak for myself. What I can say is that Matthias puts an immense amount of work into this. Like, we all work together, but we kind of say like it's his dream. It was always his dream, and especially in that first year, he's the one who then has reached out to other shows, game masters, companies. He's the one running those emails and going, "I'm just going to try. I'm just going to try," and just constant, and really keeping it all together, especially when we've had our low points. He's always been the one to bring us up again, and then we like to feel we've done the same for him.
Yeah.
So for me, he has just a lot of work and dedication.
And personal funds too, in sort of when it comes to ads and stuff like that. And now he has been able to use his side of the Patreon funds to sort of cover much of our expenses. But yeah, he's been doing an amazing job of just keeping all the social media channels open, getting a web page up, and making sure that everything gets out there, and connecting us most of all, with amazing people who like, do you want to play with us, and sending out emails to this and that, and just having no boundaries there. Like, just be nice and polite and ask if they present yourself and ask if they want to join. And just today, I probably can't say anything about that, but
No, it's fine. It's fine. Go ahead.
yeah, he is yeah. We can't say that, Craig, can we?
Probably not yet.
No. But big name, and he's like
Big
just,
names.
Yeah.
hello.
And also any names. Like we reach out to anyone really, and some people it hasn't worked out with. That's fine. Like I have the view. It's silly to be like, oh, what? Oh, they don't want to work with us. Oh dear. Like no. They were busy.
Yeah.
It's fine. You move on. People. We eventually you'll get. The whole point is, it's fun to work with people. If you can't work with them, oh well, next time.
Yes.
So that's our approach.
I'll tell James Corp. I'll tell Matthias to try and reach out to you. You'll have to send a private message so we can reach out to you. And thanks to Nerd for explaining. Yeah, we do podcasting.
I also think we were just lucky in that idea we had was just a little different.
Mm-hmm.
Just a little, just the tiniest bit different. And I feel that was our thing. Like, for example, being a comedy podcast, we were like, there are brilliant comedy podcasts already. Done. It's done. That they exist.
And that came from Matthias himself having a huge passion for listening to role-playing podcasts and actual plays and meta talks about role-playing games. And he wanted more of what we are doing.
Yeah.
He's like, why can't I find more of this? So if I were to do something, then clearly this is a sort of place, there's a niche in the market where there's a bit of space. And let's try and just do that and see how well we can do. And hopefully there are other people like me that want to listen to this. And he was right. And some people knew that they were longing for it, and some people didn't know until they heard it that this is what we need, apparently.
And it's also a bit awesome meeting other people who have the same sort of ideas, because they are out there. We're not the only show that does this. There are many shows that do this. They're awesome. Encounter Roleplay, for example, those guys. They do.
Yeah. Love their work.
I love their work. They're great. And we've had the pleasure of working with a few of them. So yeah, they're great stuff. So that genre is out there, but interestingly enough, it still is maybe not as, it's in the smaller area, I feel. So I feel that's why we had a chance to grow. And finally, I think we got very lucky with a game. We were kind of the first to cover, one of the first.
Yeah, definitely.
In this new form. I think we got that initial, like, oh, we haven't heard of this game before.
What a profound game to kind of begin this whole process.
Yes.
Well, like I said, I'm very touched. We're actually in the thank yous, Red Moon Role-Playing of the core rule book. I'm like, oh, thank you, Peter Nallo.
That was something that Matthias knew, that Cult has a big following, and that it has these classical campaigns that many people have played and are not able to play anymore for family reasons, or not just finding people together, but they would want to either experience it for the first time or sort of relive that which they've been into before, and definitely knew that people were not doing that.
Yeah.
So let's go for something that we know this doesn't exist, but still has a following, and it was sort of very much finding a lot of people in Sweden that had done this, because obviously that's where it comes from, and that's where we started. And then we can move on to something that is a bit more international, where we still sort of try and keep this going, that we always have a Cult campaign going. And then they sort of keep branching out from there. More and more.
Yeah, I mean, like, just the initial hearing of Cult was kind of what got me into Cult myself, and the scenarios are just so cinematic. Reading them, you're like, I would watch this, and having you guys bring it to life, I think really adds a lot.
How did you find us, though?
Man, I think I was looking around for interesting tabletop role-playing games. And I had kind of heard about Cult, and I was curious about what exactly it was. And so I searched Google, and Red Moon Role-Playing was like one of the first things, and I just started listening to it. So I downloaded the first 2 episodes, and I don't run, so I just sit on my couch and listen to it. And yeah, it was amazing. Just because like first Craig's voice, it might be a little bit creepy, but I love his voice, and it could put me to sleep. You know, it's just it just has a lot of character in it, and it's very lovely to hear.
Thank you. Although if you listen to me a lot, you'll realize that there are times I really am trying to not always sound the same. Try and do a different posh accent.
Yeah, and like before like meeting you kind of in this way, I thought that was a voice you used for your characters, and I'm like, surely that's not his real voice. It's probably like Vin Diesel gruff or something like that.
Hello everyone, welcome to the show. Doing role playing.
And yeah, just the way you guys interacted, it was always something that I kind of strive for as a GM and as a player, to see kind of these meaningful, profound interactions from characters and these reactions that feel real. So it was amazing. So we have, because we're coming up kind of on the end of the show, I know we could probably talk till like 1 a.m. But nonetheless, Zeal Zaddy says, what games would you like to experience?
Experience. Well, there's again, like I said earlier, Warhammer Fantasy role playing. I love all World of Darkness games. I'm going to give all of them a go, even Mage, even though
I enjoyed Mage the Awakening.
I like it. I could play it. I don't think I could run it.
Yeah, it's
we can talk offline about that game.
This was on the Onyx Path with Matthew Dawkins. He was like, yeah, what's like your least favorite one and what you're just haven't gelled with? And it was one of those like, I'm sorry, Mage. Only because it's too cool for me. It's too the ideas. I'm like, magic and the cosmos and oh gosh. And I just be like, you can do spells. It's fun. I really want to get into more Powered by the Apocalypse games. I bought Blades of the Dark and I really like it.
Really good.
I don't think I'm very good at running it though. I don't think I'm good at running it.
It's a tough game to run, especially like the fact that you don't plan, you just kind of run right into like the scenario. It's a tough one.
Exactly, because I love the setting and I wanted to play, but then I ran it myself once or twice and it didn't go well, and then I was like, oh no, maybe I'm not actually that good at this. In terms of like that sort of storytelling of those games, where it's like just let it flow, let it flow, let things happen, but at the same time they have to be cool and planned.
It's definitely tougher.
I'm trying to think of something new that's coming out. Oh, actually, there you go. No, I've kickstarted it. Heart, the City Beneath.
I have not heard of that one.
It's done by the guy who did Spire.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. I just got Spire. Is it a supplement for Spire?
It's the next game.
It's
same world.
Yeah.
But the concept being the dark underbelly beneath the Spire, where the nightmare organism exists and reality is bent to its will, and you are the weird travelers who decide to go into that place because why not? And explore the nightmare labyrinths. It's like
yes. I can't believe I missed that. That sounds amazing.
People who have a suicide wish. Got it.
Yeah.
It literally is like, it's implied like, yeah, your good character's journey will probably end in death, but I think there are cool things. It's got one of those things like, it won't just be any death. Maybe you'll turn into an elder god or make a living hive of bees.
Bees. That's what I want.
What is that game encouraging?
It is hard.
It's encouraging you to turn into bees.
But it will be a fantastic suicide. Oh, goodness me. I don't know.
Well, also because there's glory and awesomeness down there if you can find it. Heart, the City Beneath, Grant Howard. And that was just kickstarted, I think, in a couple of months ago. So yeah, I'm very much looking forward to playing that.
Ooh.
I'd like to play Werewolf. Because I've not played Werewolf yet.
Which one?
And I don't know.
I think there was it. Onyx Path does Werewolf. Oh man, I forget what it's called, but they have their Werewolf, and then there's Werewolf the Apocalypse.
All right. Yeah, I'm thinking what is said in the World of Darkness setting. What is what is the ultimate contrast with Vampire the Masquerade? Because I want to find out if I am a Lupin or a Kindred. You know, what's my spirit? You know, because it's this thing that feels like you should be appealed by one or the other, or equally. So me, I have this sort of draw,
Yeah, I'd be curious to see which one you move towards.
sort of connect with the most. Yes,
I'm
I
a
think
changeling. I'm a
there's-
changeling all the
I
way.
love, well, I love Changeling. I've already tried that, but I want to play more Changeling, and I definitely want to do, like I said, space horror. I would love to do anything that like Alien or make a really horrific scenario in 40K style.
Yeah.
Would love that.
Yeah, Mothership I heard was really good.
Mhm.
I mean, Coriolis has some horror aspects to it.
You can bring that in.
Yeah, but I hear Mothership is amazing.
Mothership, okay,
I
yeah.
wanted to try that one.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Cold Dark. I think it's a Modifius game. That's another like extremely dark horror space game. But yeah. Oh,
Nice.
so Tanzitus.
DeSantis, yes, nice to see that you have been listening since Cult Madonna, Black Madonna.
Hey, hello.
We love that you love it.
Yeah, wanted to know if you guys have ever played Black Void.
Oh, I've seen that. I haven't played it, but I've seen it. I've seen the
Played it.
drive-through RPG.
Oh yeah, tell us
Good.
about it.
We
Oh,
played it
listening.
last week.
Yeah, we got to
Oh.
interview the creator and played it, but I think you guys would love it. Like it's just eldritch horror, like Babylonian, like out in the void type of game, and yeah, it's really fun, really easy to get into too.
I've seen some of the
Mm.
pictures. That could be definitely interesting.
Yeah.
Like that.
Basically Babylonian era, but humans are in the minority and very easily made as slaves.
Ooh.
And yeah.
Okay. That's crazy.
I don't know. I choked out a demon with a really strong piece of thread, and that's all I know.
Ooh,
It-
that
Say
sounds
sometimes that's awesome.
It was the I think the designer and I hope I'm remembering his name was Christopher Svendelson. Don't quote me on that, but he ran the game and he was infinitely sympathetic for this demon that we spent a whole hour just beating the crap out of.
Down, demon, down.
I know it was
Yeah.
tough.
I held on and just waited for everybody else to kill it.
cool. Haha.
I'm holding on.
Christopher Seveldson.
There we go. Yeah, amazing guy. And yeah, I'm sure he would love to do stuff with you guys. Yeah, but yeah, everyone, please check out Red Moon podcast. Insightful. Thank you for showing up, and thank you Zeal Zaddy for the bits. We always try
Thanks
to
for
entertain.
sharing.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you very
Thanks,
much.
everybody.
So
And,
we are coming up on the end here. I think we are good with one more question. And so if the chat would like to chime in, or if you guys had a question, or Spence, if you had one, this is it. This might be the last thing we learn about each other. So
Oh.
yeah. Oh man.
This is such a fun talk, though, guys. You're wonderful.
Oh, I'm having
If you
another
were stuck on a space station
Hmm.
with only 3 tools that you knew how to use, do you think you would survive?
I mean, me probably not. No, but if I had the free tools, one of them would definitely be a computer hacky thingy, because I always in my sci-fi games want to have a computer hacky thingy.
It should. Everyone should have one. If the future doesn't have it, I feel like we've done something very wrong.
I know, right? With all the I can get the maps, the data, I can hack that door open.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hansi Coriolis, my character.
It's like,
totally
is that a
had
yes or no question? Like, or do you want me to say the 3 tools? Just
I
like,
was going from the seat of my pants and just
Yeah.
like making something up,
Interesting
and you
place.
said space opera, so I was like, sure,
yeah,
let's go with that.
yeah, definitely. The answer is yes. I would, if I had 3 tools on a space station that I knew how to use. I mean, no matter if there's food or anything on the space
Yeah.
station, or if I can command it, yes. Yes, I would survive. I will survive, damn it, because I got my 3 tools.
I think you would really enjoy this game called Bulldogs. It is a Fate game, and I played this game on a different channel where we did. I was an alien teddy bear that was also the ship's medic, and just it was absolutely bizarre. but a wonderful game where you got to build your ship, you got to have a really bizarre crew, and be on a very strange adventure. So if you look up Bulldogs, I think you'd enjoy it.
Okay, that sounds cool.
That does sound interesting.
So what's
Yeah.
everyone's favorite color? Because we were supposed to know
Oh
that.
right,
by the end of
favorite
this.
colors.
Oh, purple.
Green.
Yellow.
Yeah.
Psych. Nice.
Those are real
Although
fun.
I sometimes alternate between green and blue. Sometimes, yeah, I alternate.
Ooh.
I find on some, like, like toothbrush color, for example, it's like green, but I also like blue,
Yeah.
And Zeal Zaddy has a question: using music in a game? Question mark.
Yeah.
Fun. It could be really nice. It could really add to the atmosphere. You have to have the right mood, and definitely, be cool with the volume, because I've been in a few where someone's like, "This will be awesome," and they crank it up, and you're like, "Yeah, no, can you turn it down a bit? We can't actually hear anything," or it gets really distracting.
Yeah.
But low ambient can be fun.
Yeah, I like it. It requires that, as I've noticed now, as when you game master it, you kind of need to be prepared with a few different either specific tracks that you want to play that in situations you know are going to arise, which I find a bit like fidgety myself to try and find music for a moment when I just want to get into the moment, yeah, I love it's great when it's sort of just ambient, just lying there anyway, so you just find the mood.
I also find, for the podcast perspective, sometimes adding a layer of music on something, and when you're not like scoring it perfectly, you just add the music on and then you listen to it afterwards. Suddenly, it changes things in ways you go, I didn't like the music just does something, and you go, that actually sounds, you didn't plan it at all. It suddenly sounds like really planned. Like, oh, it went ding at that point when the character went yes, ding, and it's like, oh, that actually sounds quite good.
It worked out perfectly.
All the dings. I love the dings.
All right. Well, so that is the end. We're gonna have our final send off. So we'll start with Craig, then Yalmir, then Spence, and then we'll end with myself. Just your last 5, or a minute of whatever you want to say. Send off.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much, anyone who's tuned in to listen. Thank you, Spence and Mitch, for having us. Really lovely chatting with you folks. I've had a really nice time. Please do contact us to do things with us in the future. That would be awesome. And again, thank you, everyone listening out there. If you enjoy Redmond Roleplaying, please let us know and listen. And otherwise, good night, everyone. And thank you for listening to this episode.
Yes.
Yeah, I love that.
Thanks a lot, Resonant Moon, for putting an extra link to our website.
Yeah, hey,
there.
that's me.
Thank you, Resonant Moon. Is this the direction if I'm looking like this?
Let's see. No, look at the other direction.
Yeah, look the other way, and you'll be looking at them.
And I'll look this way. And then
if you turn around, you should be looking at them.
Look straight. Look straight, because I'm not up. I'm perpendicular to you.
Brady Bunch.
What does perpendicular mean?
It means like I'm on the same level.
Okay, are you on this side of me?
Yes.
I see you over there.
I see you too.
Thanks, Resonant Moon.
You're welcome.
That was perfect. Yeah,
That's
so
awesome.
that's it. And get in there. And if you want to support us, please come check us out. It's on Patreon. It's basically what's helping us do all the stuff that we want to do. Like, it's just amazing. We really appreciate everything. But write stuff, comment on stuff, and engage with us, because it's just so fun to hear what you think we were about to do, how you reacted when we did whatever we did, and all that stuff. It's really, really fun. And yes, thanks, Mitch. Thanks, Spence. It's been wonderful getting to know you two. And be happy to come back on anytime.
Yes.
Sweet. And yeah, I guess Mitchence is gonna be a thing or something. See, I'm looking at Mitch.
Yeah.
So maybe this will be a thing, and we'll interview more people together because it's fun. Other than that, let's play some more games.
Heck yeah. All right, everyone. Thank you so much coming out tonight for Penny for a Tale, interview some people. Make sure to check us out at pennyforatale.com to stay tuned for all the things that are coming out in the rest of January. I know that we are booked. I know Spence is running a game. I know we are interviewing some more awesome people, as well as we have several new games coming out in February. So a lot of cool things. And make sure you check out Red Moon Roleplaying. Their link will be right down on the bottom if you're watching via YouTube. And of course, to your right, if you're just looking at this right now, download an episode. Yeah, download an episode right now. Go for it. You're not doing anything else tonight. But yeah, thank you again, and everyone have a wonderful and splendid night.
Indeed. Good evening.